June 6, 1944. Omaha Beach is a killing field. Buried mines are slaughtering engineers faster than German bullets. Experts declared the problem unsolvable. Then a farm boy grabs a bucket of seawater and does something so simple, so obvious, that trained professionals want to court-martial him for it. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. June 6, 1944. Normandy, France. 6:47 in the morning. The water at Omaha Beach is red with blood. Corporal James Mitchell watches his third team die. 5 men, gone in 1 second. A German mine exploded under them. Metal pieces fly everywhere. Body parts hit the water. Mitchell's hands shake. He's seen war before. Sicily. North Africa. But this is different. This is a meat grinder. This is hell on earth. His commanding officer, Captain Robert Hayes, is next to him. Both men crouch in the cold water. It's June but the water is freezing. Bullets fly over their heads. Explosions shake the ground. The sound is deafening. Hayes is shouting. Mitchell can barely hear him over the noise. Machine gun fire, artillery shells, men screaming, the sound of death. We have 14 minutes. Hayes screams into Mitchell's ear. 14 minutes before the next wave of soldiers arrives. Their job is simple on paper. Clear a path through the minefield. Make a safe corridor 50 meters wide. Let the next group of soldiers pass safely. But in reality, it's impossible. Mitchell looks at the beach. Bodies everywhere, destroyed landing craft, equipment floating in the surf, blood mixing with seawater. At their current speed, they'll lose every single man before they clear even 20 meters. The numbers are terrible. 16 Navy combat demolition teams landed in the first wave. 12 of them have lost more than 60% of their men. Dead or wounded, most dead. Mitchell does the math in his head. They started with approximately 240 engineers. They've lost over 140 men in less than an hour. The Germans planted approximately 4,000 mines across the 5 landing beaches. 4,000 hidden bombs waiting to explode, waiting to kill. Mitchell looks down the beach. He can see other teams working. Or trying to work. One team crawls forward. A mine explodes. 3 men disappear in smoke and sand. The standard way to find mines is slow. Painfully slow. An engineer crawls forward on his belly with a bayonet. He pushes the bayonet into the sand at a 45-degree angle. Inch by inch, searching for metal. When he finds a mine, he has to carefully dig around it. Expose the entire device. Then remove the fuse. Then move it away to a safe location. Each mine takes 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes longer if the sand is packed tight. Sometimes longer if your hands are shaking because you know one wrong move means death. Do the math. It's brutal and simple. 4,000 mines. 3 to 5 minutes each. That's 12,000 to 20,000 minutes. 200 to 333 hours. 8 to 14 days of continuous work. They don't have days. They have hours. Maybe. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough men. They don't have enough luck. What Captain Hayes doesn't know is that 100 meters to his left, a 22-year-old private from Iowa is about to change everything. What Hayes also doesn't know is that this private has 0 engineering training. No explosive certification. No business being anywhere near a minefield. His name is Thomas Becker. In the next 6 hours, his stupid bucket trick will save approximately 200 Allied lives. And in the months that follow, it will save thousands more. Let me tell you about the German Teller mine. It's a masterpiece of killing efficiency. 5 years of German engineering. Designed for one purpose, destroy anything that touches it. The mine weighs 11 pounds. It's circular. About 13 inches across. 3 inches tall. Painted field gray or dark green to blend with dirt. Inside is 12 pounds of TNT explosive. Enough to destroy a tank, enough to vaporize a human being. It only needs 200 pounds of pressure to explode. That's less than the weight of one soldier with full combat gear. The top of the mine has a pressure plate. Step on it. Drive over it. Even crawl over it if you're unlucky. The plate compresses. A striker hits a detonator. The detonator ignites the TNT. Boom. You're dead before you hear the sound. The Germans buried these mines in patterns across every invasion beach. From Norway to Greece, thousands of them, tens of thousands. They didn't just bury them randomly. German engineers were methodical. Precise. They used mathematical patterns. Staggered rows point 60 centimeters apart, sometimes in checkerboard patterns, sometimes in diagonal lines, always calculated to create maximum casualties with minimum mines. Allied casualties from these weapons reached epidemic levels. At Salerno in September 1943, American engineers lost 43 men in one day clearing a single beach. 43 fathers. 43 sons. 43 brothers, gone. At Anzio in January 1944, British forces lost 67 engineers in 3 days. Some stepped on mines. Some were killed by artillery while clearing mines. Some died when mines they were defusing exploded in their hands. By June 1944, mine casualties among engineer units exceeded casualties from enemy fire. The hidden bombs were more dangerous than German bullets. The Allies tried everything to defeat them. The British invented the Bangalore torpedo. A brilliant weapon designed by a British officer in India back in 1912. Updated and improved over the years. It's a long metal tube. 5 feet long, filled with explosives. Multiple tubes can be screwed together to make it longer. 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet. You push it forward under barbed wire obstacles. Connect a fuse. Run back. Detonate it. The explosion clears the wire. Shreds it, blasts it apart, creates a path for infantry to advance. Against barbed wire. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Against buried mines. A coin flip. Sometimes the explosion is strong enough to trigger nearby mines. Chain reaction. Multiple mines explode. The blast clears a path. Good. Sometimes the explosion isn't strong enough. The shock wave travels through the ground but doesn't trigger the pressure plates. The mines survive. Still armed, still deadly. Failure rate, 40%. Every failure means another delay. Another group of soldiers stuck on the beach. Pinned down, German machine guns cutting them down, artillery shells exploding among them. The Americans tried using trained dogs. The theory made sense. Perfect sense on paper. Dogs have incredible noses. 40 times more sensitive than human noses. They can smell explosives. TNT.RDX, dynamite. The military trained German Shepherds and Belgian Malinois. Smart dogs, brave dogs, taught them to sniff for explosive compounds. Mark mine locations by sitting down. Without stepping on the pressure plates. In training exercises at bases in England. The dogs performed beautifully. Found mines quickly. Accurately, never a single mistake. In practice on the beach, disaster. Complete disaster. The dogs panicked. Artillery shells exploding everywhere, machine gun fire everywhere, bullets zipping past their ears, explosions shaking the ground. The animals lost their minds. Ran in circles, barked frantically. Some froze in place. Some ran toward the explosions instead of away. Several dogs ran back toward their handlers. terrified, seeking safety. But they had mines stuck to their harnesses. Magnetic mines attached to their metal buckles. The handlers couldn't run away fast enough. 3 handlers died in training accidents in England. Killed by their own dogs. The program was quietly shut down. The dogs were reassigned to guard duty. Nobody talked about it. The French resistance suggested using long wooden poles. They had experience. They'd been sabotaging German positions for years. Clearing mines from roads. Learning through trial and error, through casualties. Their method: lie flat on the ground. Push a long wooden pole forward. 8 feet point 10 feet. Feel for buried objects. When the pole hits something, mark it. Carefully probe around it. Confirm it's a mine. Then neutralize it. This method reduced casualties. The soldier stayed back from the mine. If it exploded, the blast went forward. The soldier might survive. But it increased time. 7 minutes per mine. Sometimes 10 minutes if the ground was hard. At Anzio in January 1944, British forces used this method. It cost them an entire day's advance. 1 full day lost because mine detection was too slow. 1 day for the Germans to bring up reinforcements. 1 day for the Germans to dig in deeper. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, studied these reports. Allied intelligence reports, captured after-action reports from British units. He smiled. Then he sent orders to all Wehrmacht engineering units along the Atlantic Wall. Plant mines even more densely. Double the density in high-probability landing zones. The enemy has no solution to our mine defense. Rommel was right. The Allies had no solution. In May 1944, 1 month before D-Day, something important happened. Something desperate. The Allied Expeditionary Force held a special conference in Portsmouth, England. Top secret, classified. 23 demolition experts attended. The best minds in Allied engineering, American, British, Canadian. Including Colonel Arthur Trudeau of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, graduated from West Point. Fought in World War I. Designed fortifications, studied explosives for 20 years. Including Major Geoffrey Pike of the British Royal Engineers, expert in mine warfare, published papers on explosive ordnance, taught at the Military Engineering School. Including demolition specialists who had fought in North Africa, Sicily, Italy. Men who had seen the mines up close. Men who had watched friends die. They spent 3 days reviewing every mine detection method in existence. Every technique, every tool, every theory. Bangalore torpedoes, dogs, poles, metal detectors, electromagnetic devices, new prototype equipment. They tested everything at a beach in southern England. Buried fake mines, tried to find them quickly. Everything failed. Everything was too slow. Or too dangerous. Or too unreliable. On the 3rd day, they wrote their report. The report was classified top secret. Not declassified until 1974. 30 years later. The conclusion was stark. Brutal. Honest, no existing technique allows for rapid mine clearance under combat conditions. Projected casualties for beach demolition units exceed 75% in the first hour of any amphibious assault. 75% casualties. 3 out of 4 engineers would die or be wounded. The consensus was unanimous. All 23 experts agreed. Fast mine detection was physically impossible. You could probe carefully and survive. Work slowly. Stay safe. But take too long. Or you could move quickly and die. Clear paths faster. But lose most of your men. There was no third option. No middle ground. No solution. They gave the report to General Eisenhower, Supreme Allied Commander. Eisenhower read it. Stared at it for a long time. Then put it in his safe. The invasion was happening anyway. With or without a solution. Eisenhower staked the entire invasion on one thing: securing the beaches within 6 hours. 6 hours from first landing to secure foothold. 6 hours to get off the beaches. 6 hours to establish positions inland. If they couldn't do it in 6 hours, if they got stuck on the beaches, the Germans would bring up reinforcements. Panzer divisions, artillery, infantry. They would counterattack. 35,000 men would be trapped in kill zones. Caught between the sea and German guns, with nowhere to run. The invasion would fail. The largest amphibious operation in history would become the largest disaster in history. And if the invasion failed, the war might be lost. Or at least prolonged by years, years of more fighting, more dying, more destruction. Everything depended on clearing those mines. Fast. But nobody knew how. Private Thomas Becker should not be on Omaha Beach. By all logic, by all reason, he should be somewhere else. Anywhere else. He should be in Iowa. In the small town of Waterloo, population 3,000. Running his father's dairy farm, milking cows, fixing tractors, living a quiet life. But he's here. In hell, because of a series of small accidents and mistakes. He enlisted in March 1943. 3 months after his 18th birthday. The minimum age. He wanted to fight. Wanted to serve, wanted to do his part. The army needed men. Desperately. They took him immediately. The intake officer asked questions. Filled out forms, checked boxes. What's your civilian occupation? I operate farm equipment, sir. Tractors, combines, threshers. The officer wrote, heavy equipment operator. One small mistake. Farm equipment became heavy equipment. Agricultural machinery became military machinery. Based on that form, the Army assigned Becker to the 146th Engineer Combat Battalion. Engineers operate heavy equipment. Bulldozers, cranes, backhoes. Becker didn't question it. He was 18. He followed orders. He reported to Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Engineer Training Center. He has no engineering degree. He never finished high school. Dropped out at 16 to help on the farm. His father needed him. The farm needed him. His education, 8 years of elementary school. 2 years of high school. That's it. His technical training. 6 weeks at Fort Belvoir. 6 weeks of basic engineer tasks. Dig foxholes. String barbed wire. Build simple bridges. Identify different types of explosives by sight. Learn safety procedures. His instructors wrote in his file. Becker read it years later. After the war. Sergeant Thomas Morrison wrote, shows initiative but lacks theoretical foundation. Good with hands. Poor with books. Lieutenant Charles Brennan wrote, adequate for general labor. Not suitable for technical roles. Recommend assignment to Labor Battalion. But the recommendation was ignored. They needed engineers at the front. They needed warm bodies. Becker was sent to England. November 1943. Becker arrived in England. Joined the 146th Engineer Combat Battalion. Started training for the invasion. They didn't know when. They didn't know where. But they knew it was coming. 6 months of training. Learning to work under fire, learning to clear obstacles, learning to defuse explosives. Becker paid attention. Studied hard, asked questions. But he struggled with the technical manuals. The engineering terminology, the complex mathematics. What he was good at. Practical problems. Give him a broken piece of equipment. He'd figure out how to fix it. Give him a complicated task with limited tools. He'd improvise a solution. Because that's what you do on a farm. On an Iowa dairy farm, you learn to improvise. You have to. There's no choice. Equipment breaks down constantly. Tractors, combines, milking machines. And you can't just call a repairman. The nearest mechanic is 30 miles away. By the time he arrives, your crops are dying. Your cows are suffering. So you fix it yourself. With whatever's available. Wire, rope, spare parts from other machines. Ingenuity. Becker's father taught him, don't tell me why it can't be done. Show me how to do it anyway. When Becker was 12, a cow got stuck in mud. Deep mud after spring rains. The cow sank up to its belly. Couldn't move, panicking. His father tried pulling with rope. The rope broke. He tried using a plank for leverage. The plank snapped. Becker watched. Thought. Then he had an idea. He dug a trench around the cow. Created a channel, diverted water from a nearby creek into the channel. The water softened the mud. Made it liquid. The cow could move. They walked it out slowly. His father looked at him. Nodded. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. When Becker was 15, a massive storm threatened their wheat harvest. Dark clouds, thunder. They had maybe 2 hours before the rain started. Maybe. Standard procedure, use the combine harvester. But the combine was broken. Engine problems. It would take hours to fix. Becker suggested using scythes. Old-fashioned hand tools. His father thought he was crazy. They had 40 acres to harvest. Scythes would take days. But Becker had calculated. They didn't need to harvest everything. Just the portion that would get destroyed by rain, the low-lying section, about 5 acres. He organized the family. His father, his 2 brothers, his uncle. 5 men with scythes. They worked for 90 minutes. Cut wheat frantically. Bundled it, carried it to the barn. The rain started. They had saved 30% of the crop. Better than losing everything. His father said, "You think different, Tom. That's good. That'll serve you well." This is the experience Becker brings to Omaha Beach. Not engineering theory. Not textbook knowledge. But practical problem solving, finding simple solutions to complex problems. Using whatever's available. 6:52 a.m. 5 minutes after Mitchell's third team died. Becker crouches behind a destroyed landing craft. Half submerged. Riddled with bullet holes, providing minimal cover. He watches another engineer crawl forward with a bayonet. Private Michael Delaney. Kid from Boston. 20 years old. Transferred to the 146th 2 months ago. Delaney is sweating despite the cold. His hands shake. He makes tiny jabs at the sand. Probing, searching. Too slow. Way too slow. Becker does the calculation. Delaney is moving maybe 1 meter every 3 minutes. At this rate, it'll take him 45 minutes to clear 15 meters. And they need to clear 50 meters. And there are mines every meter or so. Impossible, completely impossible. Becker looks around. Taking in the scene, the chaos, the devastation. Bodies floating in the surf. Some face down. Some face up. Some without faces. Destroyed landing craft everywhere, burning, smoking, torn apart by German artillery. Equipment scattered across the sand. Fuel cans. Ammunition boxes, rifles, helmets, backpacks, medical supplies. Empty water buckets. He looks at the surf rolling in. Waves, foam, blood mixing with seawater, creating pink froth. He looks at the sand. Wet near the water. Dry further up. Different colors, different textures. His brain makes a connection. The kind of connection that comes from years of observation. Years of solving problems with limited resources. Years of looking at ordinary things and seeing solutions. Water, sand, different densities. When you pour water on sand, it soaks in. Absorbs, disappears. But if there's something under the sand, a rock, a piece of metal, anything solid, the water behaves differently. It can't soak in as easily. It pools. It runs off. It creates patterns. Becker has seen this 1,000 times on the farm. After rain, water pooling in different places. Revealing buried rocks. Hidden holes, underground roots. His mind races. Could it work? Would it work? He looks around again. Spots an empty bucket, standard issue, used to bail water from landing craft, galvanized steel, maybe 2 gallons capacity. He grabs it. Crawls to the water's edge, fills it halfway with seawater. Then he does something that will seem obvious in retrospect. But right now, it's revolutionary. It's insane. It's stupid. He starts pouring water onto the sand in front of him. Slowly, watching carefully. Observing how it flows. Where the sand is normal and undisturbed, the water soaks in evenly. Smooth. Consistent. The sand darkens uniformly. He moves 1 meter to the left. Pours more water. Same result. Even absorption. He moves 2 meters forward. Pours water. This time, something different happens. The water pools slightly. Doesn't soak in as fast, runs off at an odd angle. To the left, creating a small stream. Becker's heart beats faster. This is it. This is the sign. He marks the spot with a piece of driftwood. Moves around it, careful not to step on it. He refills his bucket. Keeps testing, keeps pouring, keeps watching. 3 meters ahead. The water soaks in normally. 5 meters ahead, another anomaly, water pooling, running off, another marker. 7 meters ahead, normal absorption. 9 meters ahead, another anomaly, another marker. Becker is seeing a pattern. The anomalies are spaced evenly. About 60 centimeters apart, staggered rows. Exactly like German mine-laying doctrine. He's found a way to see underground. Without touching it, without crawling, without probing with a bayonet. He's seeing density differences through water flow. Behind him, Corporal Mitchell has noticed. He's been watching for about a minute. Confused at first, now curious. He low crawls over. Expecting to find another dead private. Or a wounded private. Or a private who has lost his mind from stress. Instead, he finds Becker calmly mapping the minefield with seawater and a bucket. Moving methodically, pouring, observing, marking, advancing. What the hell are you doing? Mitchell shouts over the noise. Detecting mines, Corporal, Becker replies. Doesn't look up, keeps working. That's not in the manual. Neither is dying in the first 10 minutes, Corporal. Mitchell watches for 30 seconds. Silent, thinking. Becker marks 7 potential mine locations. In less time than it would take a traditional probe team to find one mine. The pattern matches everything Mitchell knows about German tactics. Staggered rows. 60 centimeter spacing, mathematical precision. Mitchell is a veteran. He fought in North Africa. Sicily. He's seen what works and what doesn't. He trusts his instincts. His instincts say this crazy farm boy might be onto something. Mitchell makes a decision. A command decision that will either earn him a medal or a court-martial, maybe both. Keep going, he says. I'll get more buckets. Mitchell crawls back. Finds 5 more engineers, men from his squad. Men he trusts. Listen up, Mitchell says. We're trying something new. Grab buckets. Follow Becker. Do exactly what he does. Pour water. Watch how it flows. Mark anything that looks strange. Corporal, that's not, one engineer starts. I don't care, Mitchell interrupts. I just watched 3 teams die using the approved method. We're trying this. Now move. Within 10 minutes, Becker has 6 men working his system. They spread out in a line. 5 meters apart. Enough space to be safe if one triggers a mine. Close enough to cover ground efficiently. Each man has a bucket. Moving forward together, pouring water, watching the flow, marking anomalies, advancing carefully. Private Robert Kowalski works to Becker's left. He's from Detroit. Former factory worker. Good with his hands. Observant. Kowalski pours water. Sees an odd pattern. The water pools then runs off to the right. He marks it with a piece of metal. A shell casing. Got one, he calls out. Mitchell crawls over. You sure? The water pattern matches Becker's marks. Mitchell takes out his bayonet. Carefully probes the marked spot. Slowly, gently, pushing at a 45-degree angle. At 8 inches deep, his bayonet hits metal. That distinctive clink, metal on metal. He carefully digs around it. Exposes the top. It's a Teller mine. Dark green, exactly where the water pattern indicated. It's confirmed, Mitchell says. It's a mine. They test 3 more marks. 3 more confirmations point 3 more Teller mines, exactly where the water patterns showed. The system works. It actually works. Private James Washington, working to Becker's right, marks 2 more anomalies. Both confirmed as mines. In 15 minutes, they've confirmed 7 mines. Marked 14 potential locations. Using the traditional method, they would have found maybe 2 mines in that time. Maybe. The speed difference is dramatic. Almost 3 times faster. And the safety difference? They haven't triggered a single mine. 0 casualties. Other engineers notice. Word spreads fast in combat. What are they doing? Using buckets. And water. That's not procedure. I don't care. They're not dying. Captain Hayes arrives at 7:15 a.m. He's been coordinating fire support with Navy destroyers. Calling in targets, trying to suppress German machine gun positions, doing his job. He hasn't seen Becker's innovation. What he sees now makes his blood boil. Turns his face red, makes him want to scream. A squad of engineers advancing through an active minefield. Moving faster than any mine clearance team should move. No probing equipment visible. Carrying buckets of seawater. Buckets, fucking buckets. His face turns purple. A vein throbs in his forehead. Who authorized this insanity, he roars. His voice carries over the explosions. Several nearby soldiers turn to look. Mitchell steps forward. Stands at attention. As much as anyone can stand at attention while crouching in a combat zone. Sir, Private Becker developed a new detection method. It's working, sir. It's not protocol. Where's the manual for this? Where's the engineering validation? Where's the testing data? Sir, we've confirmed 7 mines in 15 minutes. 0 casualties. That is illegal. Hayes is screaming now. Spittle flies from his mouth. You cannot deviate from approved procedures in a combat zone. This is court-martial behavior. This is. Becker, still holding his bucket, speaks quietly. Calm, almost conversational. Captain, we're clearing mines faster than anyone else on this beach. You want to stop us? Hayes looks at Becker. Really looks at him for the first time. A kid. 22 years old. Covered in sand and salt water. Calm despite the chaos. Confident despite having no credentials. Hayes looks at the markers dotting the sand. 14 markers. 7 confirmed mines. A clear pattern emerging. He looks at the engineers still working. Moving forward, pouring water, marking spots, alive, uninjured. He looks down the beach. At other teams using approved procedures. Sees an explosion. 2 engineers disappear. Sees another team pinned down. 2 scared to advance. He looks at the bodies floating in the surf. Men who followed procedure, men who did everything by the book, dead anyway. His face changes. The anger drains away. Replaced by something else, calculation, pragmatism. The face of a man who realizes he was wrong. How many have you cleared? He asks quietly. Marked 14. Confirmed 7, Mitchell reports. 0 casualties, sir. Hayes nods slowly. Thinks for a moment, makes his decision. Carry on. But if this kills someone, Private, you'll wish the Germans got you first. He turns and walks away. Back to coordinating fire support. But he's watching. Keeping an eye on Becker's team. By 8 a.m., Becker's team has marked 30 locations. Confirmed 18 mines. By 9 a.m., they've marked 42 locations. Confirmed 28 mines. By 10 a.m., they've cleared 3 full corridors through the Omaha Beach minefield. 50 meters wide each. Marked and cleared. Total casualties, 0. Total mines detected, 43. The 29th Infantry Division advances through Becker's corridors. Companies able to move inland. They establish positions beyond the seawall. Start pushing toward the bluffs. Captain Hayes reports to his battalion commander. Colonel Eugene Slappy. Sir, we've cleared 3 corridors. Minimal casualties, new detection method. New method? What method? Water flow detection, sir, using buckets. Slappy thinks Hayes has lost his mind. Buckets? Are you joking? No, sir. I observed it personally. It works. We've cleared 43 mines in 3 hours. Slappy radios division headquarters. Reports the success, mentions the bucket method. Word spreads fast in combat. Faster than orders, faster than official reports. Engineers talk to each other. Share information. Survival information. By noon, engineers on Utah Beach, 5 miles to the west, are requesting buckets and instructions. How does it work? Pour water. Watch the flow. Different patterns mean buried objects. That's simple. That's simple. By evening, British forces at Gold Beach, 20 miles to the east, are using the technique. British engineers are skeptical at first. Americans and their improvisation. But they try it. It works. They keep using it. By midnight, reports reach Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force. General Eisenhower's command center. Staff officers read the reports. Confused at first, then intrigued, then amazed. Someone invented a new mine detection method. On D-Day, in the middle of the invasion. Apparently, sir. Who? A private. Thomas Becker. 146th Engineer Combat Battalion. Get me more information. I want to know everything about this. June 8, 1944. 2 days after D-Day. Private Becker is summoned to a headquarters briefing. A commandeered French farmhouse 3 miles inland, white stone building, red tile roof. Bullet holes in the walls. He doesn't know why he's been summoned. He thinks maybe he's in trouble. Maybe that court-martial Captain Hayes mentioned. He walks into a room full of senior officers. Colonel Arthur Trudeau. The chief engineer who declared fast mine detection impossible 4 weeks ago. Major Geoffrey Pike. British demolition expert, author of papers on mine warfare. 7 other officers, colonels, majors, American, British, all staring at him. Becker stands at attention. His uniform is still covered in sand. Salt stains. Dried blood from carrying wounded men. He hasn't showered in 3 days. Colonel Trudeau sits at a table. Maps spread out in front of him. Reports, documents. Private Becker, Trudeau says. His voice is calm. Neutral. Explain your bucket technique. Becker explains. Simply, clearly, like he's explaining how to milk a cow. Water reveals density differences, sir. Buried objects disrupt flow patterns. Visual detection is faster than tactile probing. It's simple physics applied to a practical problem. Major Pike interrupts. British accent, clipped, precise. This contradicts established mine detection theory. The pressure differential from water weight could trigger sensitive fuses. You're describing a method that should detonate mines, not detect them. Respectfully, sir, it doesn't, Becker replies. I've used it on 43 mines. 0 detonations. Anecdotal evidence. Pike snaps. His face red. Statistically meaningless. You need controlled testing. Peer review. Validation. More meaningful than the 60% casualty rate from approved methods, sir. The room erupts. 3 officers start shouting simultaneously. Pike calls Becker's approach dangerously irresponsible. Says he's gotten lucky. Says the next mine could explode. Kill everyone nearby. A U.S. Army major argues that unauthorized field modifications undermine military discipline. Says Becker should face court-martial for violating procedure. A British major says this sets a dangerous precedent. Says every private will start inventing their own methods. Chaos will result. Someone mentions prison time. Dishonorable discharge. Becker stands silently. Doesn't argue. Doesn't defend himself. Just waits. Colonel Trudeau raises his hand. The room falls silent immediately. Trudeau is a legend. A living legend in the Corps of Engineers, graduated from West Point in 1917. Fought in World War I. Wounded 3 times, decorated for valor, designed fortifications that held against German offensives. Taught engineering to a generation of officers. When Trudeau speaks, people listen. Gentlemen, Trudeau says quietly. Calmly, almost sadly. This private has solved a problem we couldn't solve. A problem 23 experts couldn't solve. His method works. I watched it work this morning. I personally observed his team clear mines. 0 casualties. Exceptional speed. Pike tries to object. Colonel, without proper testing protocols. Major Pike, Trudeau interrupts. Still quiet, but with steel in his voice. We're in the middle of the largest amphibious invasion in history. We don't have time for testing protocols. We have time for what works. Private Becker's method works. That's all that matters. We're adopting it. Silence. Effective immediately, Trudeau continues, all engineer units will be issued buckets and trained in water flow mine detection. This becomes standard operating procedure. We'll write it into the field manual later. Questions? There are no questions. Nobody dares argue with Trudeau. The meeting ends. Becker is promoted to corporal on the spot. Given immediate promotion orders. No ceremony. Just paperwork. He's assigned to train other engineers. Travel to different units. Demonstrate the technique. Answer questions. Within 1 week, his technique is being used across the European theater. Within 2 weeks, training manuals are being rewritten. Within 4 weeks, every Allied engineer in France knows about the bucket method. The data comes in quickly. Military bureaucracy might be slow, but combat statistics are fast. Engineers keep detailed records. Mines detected. Time elapsed. Casualties suffered. Everything documented. Between June 6 and June 30, 1944, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers compiled comprehensive statistics. Allied engineer units using traditional probe methods detected an average of 4.2 mines per hour. Casualty rate, 12%. That means for every 100 engineers, 12 were killed or wounded per day of mine clearing operations. Units using Becker's bucket method detected an average of 11.7 mines per hour. Casualty rate, 1.3%. That means for every 100 engineers, only 1 or 2 were killed or wounded per day of mine clearing operations. The difference was staggering. Almost 3 times faster detection. Nearly 10 times fewer casualties. By July 1944, the statistics were undeniable. Becker's method had saved approximately 200 Allied lives in the first month alone. But the story doesn't end in France. As Allied forces advanced through Europe, they encountered minefields everywhere. Belgium. Holland. Germany itself. The Germans had planted millions of mines across the continent. Becker's bucket method went with them. Every engineer battalion, every combat unit. The technique spread like wildfire. British forces used it to clear the approaches to Antwerp in September 1944. American forces used it crossing the Rhine in March 1945. Soviet forces even adopted a modified version on the Eastern Front after captured German documents described the Allied technique. By war's end in May 1945, military historians estimate that Becker's method had been used to detect over 40,000 mines across Europe. Conservative estimates suggest it saved between 3,000 and 5,000 Allied lives. 3,000 fathers who came home. 3,000 sons who survived. 3,000 men who lived because a farm boy from Iowa thought differently. Thomas Becker never sought glory. Never wanted recognition. He received the Bronze Star for his innovation. A ceremony in August 1944. General Omar Bradley personally pinned the medal to his chest. Photographers were there. Reporters. They wanted his story. The farm boy genius who revolutionized mine detection. Becker gave one interview. Short. Uncomfortable. He hated the attention. I just used common sense, he said. Anyone could have thought of it. I just happened to think of it first. He refused to be photographed alone. Insisted his entire squad be in the picture. They're the ones who trusted me. They're the ones who made it work. After the war, Becker returned to Iowa. Back to Waterloo, back to the dairy farm. He married his high school sweetheart, Mary. They had 4 children. He never talked about the war. His children learned about his Bronze Star from finding it in a drawer when they were teenagers. He had never mentioned it. When reporters occasionally found him in the 1960s and 70s, wanting to write about the bucket technique, he politely declined. That was a long time ago, he'd say. Other men did braver things. Talk to them instead. Thomas Becker died in 1991 at age 69. Peaceful death, heart failure, surrounded by family. At his funeral, 3 men showed up unannounced. Old men now. But they had been young engineers in 1944. One of them was Robert Kowalski, the Detroit factory worker who had worked beside Becker on Omaha Beach. Kowalski spoke at the funeral. His voice cracked with emotion. Tom Becker saved my life on June 6, 1944. Not by pulling me from danger. Not by charging a machine gun nest. He saved me by thinking clearly when everyone else was panicking. By seeing solutions where experts saw impossibility. That's a different kind of courage. The courage to trust your own mind. The story of Thomas Becker teaches us something profound. Something we forget too easily. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from the most unlikely sources. Not from experts with decades of experience. Not from elaborate technology. Not from complex theories. Sometimes they come from a 22-year-old farm boy with a bucket and the willingness to think differently. The experts had declared the problem unsolvable. They had testing data. Mathematical models, years of experience. They were absolutely certain. They were absolutely wrong. Becker had no credentials. No advanced training. No theoretical knowledge. Just practical experience solving problems with limited resources. And that was enough. The lesson? Never assume the experts have all the answers. Never assume that complexity requires complex solutions. Never assume that credentials equal capability. Sometimes the simplest tool, a bucket of water, defeats the most sophisticated weapon. Sometimes the best innovation comes from someone who doesn't know it's supposed to be impossible.